We're recording. So, Hare Krishna, Mother Tadiya, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Krishna, 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 hey.
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 Krishna, 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 Rakshamam.
Krishna, 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 Rakshama.
Krishna, 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 Pahimam.
Krishna, 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 Pahimam.
Rama Raghava, Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam.
Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama.
Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Pahimam.
Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Pahimam. Okay, wonderful. So this is our first recorded. Oh, I don't know what we did here, Ali. You zoomed me in a little.
We're on the wrong tab, I think.
Yeah. I'll
That's all right. We knew what we were saying.
So we were at we did 33. We're on 34, the Gopis feeling separation. Just to understand what book we're reading here, we are reading the book Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is a retelling of the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto. It's about the pastimes of Krishna. Ali, you might have to help me though. Well, there you go.
You go like this.
This one, right? Chapter 35. Yeah. Okay.
Where do you have to go?
34.
Now you just move. What's going on here? You have too much stuff open. Hold on. It's just very large now. You have to shrink it. Go like that with it.
Well, this is a wonderful first way to start recording. Let's try this again.
There you go. It's still very large. Move the whole thing over.
Yeah, let's maybe hopefully it.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, we're back. So we're on the Gopis' feeling of separation. We are on chapter 34 of this book. Luckily, this book is so wonderful that any chapter that you hop in is a little jewel of nectar. So it doesn't matter that if you haven't read the 33 chapters beforehand, even though it would be helpful. But it's a really wonderful book. It's the first book that I ever read to get myself involved with Bhakti Yoga, which is kind of one of the philosophy we're going to be putting out here. We have some really lovely guests in Colorado, Mother Nidra, Mother Tadiya, our friends Sati and Mark. And then we have some other guests joining us. Margaret's over here. She's with, looks like Mother Yashoda, Krishna, and the Cowherd Boys in the background. And then we have
looking into his mouth and finding the universe and seeing the universe.
Oh, so that's a chapter that our guests have missed. But and then we have Tara joining us from work as well as myself and Ali. So we just like to read and let the book speak for itself. Colorado, would you start off some reading for us? Whoever would like.
First.
Sure, Mother Tadiya.
Chapter 35, the Gopis' feelings of separation. The Gopis of Vrindavan were so attached to Krishna that they were not satisfied simply with the rasa dance at night. They wanted to associate with him and enjoy his company during the daytime also. When Krishna went to the forest with his cowherd boyfriends and cows, the Gopis did not physically take part, but their hearts were with him. And because their hearts went, they were able to enjoy his company through strong feelings of separation. To acquire this strong feeling of separation is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya and his direct disciples, the 6 Goswamis. When we are not in physical contact with Krishna, we can associate with him like the gopis through feelings of separation. Krishna's transcendental form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all identical with him. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service. Devotional service to Krishna in feelings of separation elevates the devotee to the highest perfectional level, to the level of the gopis. It is stated in the Srinivasacharya's prayer to the 6 Goswamis that they left the material opulences of government service and princely status of life and went to Vrindavan, where they lived just like ordinary mendicants, begging from door to door. But they were so much enriched with the gopis' feelings of separation that they enjoyed transcendental pleasure at every moment. Similarly, when Lord Chaitanya was at Jagannath Puri, he was in the role of Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. Those who are in the disciplic succession of the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya should always feel separation from Krishna, worship his transcendental form, and discuss his transcendental teachings, his pastimes, his qualities, his entourage, and his association. That will enrich the devotees to the highest devotional perfection. Feeling constant separation while engaged in the service of the Lord is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. The gopis used.
1 second. Oh, hi. Just, yeah, one second, just to recap. I want you to continue reading soon, Mother Chadia. But who the gopis are, who Krishna is, could we get a little introduction to who Krishna is, who the gopis are, and maybe even what the yeah, just who Krishna and the gopis are, just so we know exactly what we're reading and can put it for those who haven't joined us for the first 33 chapters. Mother Nidra or Mother Tidia?
Hi, Krishna, Prabhu, and
Hi.
everybody.
Oh, Krishna.
So Krishna is God, and Prabhupada uses the phrase Supreme Personality of Godhead to explain that he's the Supreme Person. Just in case we're not quite sure about is he personal or impersonal ultimately. So ultimately, the Supreme Lord or God is the Supreme Person, the Supreme all attractive person, and he has all attractive pastimes. So these pastimes with the gopis are all attractive. And the gopis are his most loving devotees. All the devotees love Krishna. The gopis have what they call the most selfless love. And they're the cowherd girls, the milkmaids of Vrindavan. And they just, everything is for Krishna. So this is a good example for us to become selfless in the world, to learn how to offer everything to Krishna. So anything else, Prabhu? You're saying?
Well, no, that was really good. Maybe just to clarify, so you're telling me we have a little looking glass here through this book into the pastimes of God and his most intimate associates in this land of Vrindavan. Is that correct?
Yeah, and even everyone should get a Krishna book, because Prabhupada said the paintings, the pictures in the books are windows into the spiritual world. So who wouldn't want to see, you know? I mean, everybody's trying to go to outer space, and here we can see beyond outer space. We can see into the spiritual world. And so we can hear about it. And if we hear about it, then we'll be attracted and we'll want to go back there because guess what? Well, we're really not from here. We're fish out of water and we need to go back to our eternal home. So it's so nice to hear from Krishna book.
Beautiful. So, and we've talked about this before in many past classes, but this is the first time we've decided to record. But, so you're kind of saying we're not from here ultimately, that, we're maybe like souls within these bodies, but this isn't our true home. And you could measure that by, the bodies are destined to all die and get old and the whole process of life. But here we have this window into this spiritual realm. So you're telling me through reading this, we can get an idea of essentially the highest levels of where we can go and what the spiritual realm is like. Is that correct?
Yeah, Prabhupada says if you read these books, then you're associating with Krishna and his devotees. So if we want to associate with the highest devotees of existence and the Supreme Lord himself, then this is how to do it.
All right, beautiful. You answered my questions wonderfully. Does anyone else have anything before we keep reading with Mother Tadia?
Actually, I did. There's the line, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service. And I know that's a lot, that's a big list, but could we look at that? Into that?
That's good. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service.
You highlight it.
Is that possible? Can I do that? Oh yeah, look at that. So I know a couple of them. Mother Nidra, you probably know all of them. Do we want to go through all of them?
It's up to you.
So the 2 most important ones are called Shravanam, which means hearing, and Kirtanam, which means chanting. So hearing about Krishna. So this is actually Shravanam, when we're reading, and especially out loud, we're hearing about the pastimes of Krishna. And Kirtanam is also, especially if we're reading, now we're doing the Kirtan part, we're chanting them out loud. But there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, is it Smaranam, which is remembering Krishna? Padma Sevanam, I think that means service to his lotus feet. And Mother Nidra, I might give it to you from here because I'll just botch it.
Yeah, so Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. And so there's a few more, but actually Archanam is the deity worship. So that's another way that we're serving the deity worship. And Padasevanam, you can also go on pilgrimage and you can use your own padas or little pods, your little feet, and go on pilgrimage. And or you can walk to the temple or walk to your altar or walk to a program, somehow or other. Walking is a big part of devotees' life. It's called Padayatra, or walking festival. So that's a very important way to serve. And you can circumambulate by this walking, circumambulate your deities or Tulsi Devi or the temple or the Holy Land. And so, yeah, so then there's prayer also. There's Bandhanam, so praying to the Lord is another way. Just like, Akrura, when he went to Vrindavan, he was praying to Krishna. So you can also pray to the Lord. And you can also make friends with the Lord, and like Arjuna. And you can also surrender everything to the Lord, like Bali Maharaj. So you can do that. I don't know if I missed any, but.
Thank you.
I think the most important ones were all mentioned, right? And that's actually is a Actually, I can maybe at the end I can go back to that and we can look at all the 9 processes. Especially if you read the 7th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think Prahlad Maharaj makes that very clear, the processes of bhakti, Margaret. So if you want to do that, I mean, I know you had a Bhagavatam set.
No, but I'm getting the cantos one at a time, and so that I can read them and really devote myself to each one. It was a little overwhelming for me, and I know that
No,
Dawn
no
is
problem.
really enjoying those volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharing is nice.
Yeah, sharing, it was very nice. But yeah, as you go deeper into these studies, you'll know. But that was a great question, because I'm sure our guest had no idea what the 9 different kinds of devotional service were. So beautiful. So to give it back to now, Mother Tadia, could you now start with the gopis, what they were discussing when Krishna was out in the forest?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
gopis used to discuss Krishna amongst themselves, and their talks were as follows. My dear friends, one gopi said, do you know that when Krishna lies on the ground, he rests on his left elbow and his head rests on his left hand. He moves his attractive eyebrows while playing his flute with his delicate fingers, and the sound he produces creates such a nice atmosphere that the denizens of the heavenly planets who travel in space with their wives and beloveds stop their airplanes, for they are stunned by the vibration of the flute. The wives of the demigods who are seated in the plains then become very much ashamed of their singing and musical qualifications. Not only that, but they become afflicted with conjugal love, and their hair and tight clothes immediately loosen. Another gopi said, my dear friends, Krishna is so beautiful that the goddess of fortune always remains on his chest, and he is always adorned with a golden necklace. Beautiful Krishna plays his flute in order to enliven the hearts of many devotees. He is the only friend of the suffering living entities. When he plays his flute, all the cows and other animals of Vrindavan, although engaged in eating, simply take a morsel of food in their mouths and stop chewing. Their ears raise up and they become stunned. They do not appear alive, but like painted animals. Krishna's flute playing is so attractive that even the animals become enchanted. What to speak of ourselves. Another gopi said, my dear friends, not only living animals, but even inanimate objects like the rivers and lakes of Vrindavan also become stunned when Krishna passes with peacock feathers on his head and his body smeared with the minerals of Vrindavan. With leaves and flowers decorating his body, he looks like some hero. When he plays on his flute and calls the cows with Balaram, the river Jamuna stops flowing and waits for the air to carry dust from his lotus feet. But the river Yamuna is unfortunate like us and does not get Krishna's mercy. The river simply remains stunned, stopping its waves, just as we also stop crying. But Krishna in extentation. In the absence of Krishna, the gopis were constantly shedding tears, but sometimes when they expected that Krishna was coming, they would stop crying. But when they saw that Krishna was not coming, then again they would become frustrated and begin to cry. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the origin of all Vishnu forms, and the cowherd boys are all demigods. So just as Lord Vishnu is always worshipped and surrounded by different demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and others, when Krishna traveled through the Vrindavan forest or walked on Govardhan Hill, he was accompanied by the cowherd boys. While walking, he played his flute just to call his cows. Just by his association, the trees, plants, and other vegetation at the forest, in the forest, immediately became Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious person sacrifices everything for Krishna. Although the trees and plants were not very advanced in consciousness, by the association of Krishna and his friends, they also became Krishna conscious. They then wanted to deliver everything, whatever they had, namely their fruits, flowers, and the honey incessantly falling from their branches.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mother Tadiya. If I don't know if you guys,
There's one more process.
okay, bring
That's
it
the
back,
das-
Mother Tadiya.
that's the dasyam. So servitorship, like Hanuman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
I just wanted to add that.
I'm glad. I don't know if you guys heard a big boom in the background and you saw Allie run off from behind me. But we had a butternut, I think not spaghetti squash, just explode in the explode in the oven. So what an interesting day to start recording all these. But let's welcome Santhi, our friend Santhi, who is off from school, I believe, for President's Week, which wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but so she's here and able to join us. And Santhi, just so you know, these are Krishna's pastimes, and you'll get a very intimate look into Krishna's activities when he came to this planet. And Santhi's a very good reader as well. So we're gonna probably have Santhi read for us quite a bit here. So before we begin, Santhi or Margaret or anyone, do we have any questions or comments about what we read, Mother Nidra?
I was just appreciating how Prabhupada is presenting a Krishna book, to the devotees and to the public at large. And like in this chapter, he talks about some of the most high-level understanding of separation. This is very much appreciated in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, that service to Krishna and separation is a kind of ecstasy and love that's very elevated. And this is what the gopis are experiencing. So Prabhupada's presenting this. And like I said, Krishna book is actually for everybody. And so here he's presenting such high level understanding in a way that everybody can appreciate.
Beautiful. And that's just so how do we feel like this in our experience with Krishna or with God? How do we if we know that God is everywhere, how can we feel this separation? What is this that the gopis have tapped into here?
So I mean, Krishna, yeah, he's everywhere, but yet he's simultaneously in his abode, right? So in his all-pervasive aspect, he's everywhere, but yet at the same time, he's not everywhere. In the Achinti Beta Beta Tattva, simultaneously he's one and different. So that means that Krishna, as the Supreme Lord, the lover of the gopis, is manifesting his pastimes in a particular universe and in Goloka Vrindavan. So he's not in that sense. He's present to those who are his devotees, who are fully Krishna conscious. So in that sense, we may feel separation because we're not seeing Krishna face to face or experiencing those pastimes ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it's not that, so God is all pervasive, but if you want some of the most confidential and ecstatic expressions that God has to offer, so you will develop that separation for, that's who Krishna is, right? The most attractive form of God. So we, feel separation that we don't get to fully, especially when we hear about these pastimes, we feel like, oh, I wish I was there with them. I wish I could be a part of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so to keep moving, I think we are on this, when Krishna walked. Can you see Santi on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, please read for us. Let us hear your beautiful voice.
When Krishna walked on the bank of the Yamuna,
Mhm.
he was seen nicely decorated with tilaka.
Yep, that's what I'm wearing right here.
Oh, yes, on his head. He was garlanded with different kinds of forest flowers, and his body was smeared with the pulp of sandalwood and tulsi leaves. The bumblebees became mad after the treasure and the sweet nectar of the atmosphere. Being pleased by the humming sound of the bees, Krishna would play his flute, and together the sounds became so sweet to hear that the aquatics, the cranes, swans, and ducks, and other birds were charmed. Instead of swimming or flying, they became stunned. They closed their eyes and entered a trance of meditation in worship of Krishna. One gopi said, "My dear friend, Krishna and Balarama are nicely dressed with earrings and pearl necklaces. They enjoy themselves on top of the Govardhan
Govardhan.
Govardhan Hill, thank you, and everything becomes absorbed in transcendental pleasure when Krishna plays on his flute, charming the whole created manifestation. When he plays, the clouds stop their loud thundering out of fear of him. Rather than disturb the vibration of his flute, they respond with mild thunder and so congratulate Krishna, their friend. Krishna is accepted as the friend of the cloud because both the cloud and Krishna satisfy the people when they are disturbed. When the people are burning due to excessive heat, the cloud satisfies them with rain. Similarly, when people in materialistic life become disturbed by the blazing fire of material pangs, Krishna gives them relief. The cloud and Krishna, having the same bodily color, also are considered to be friends. Desiring to congratulate its superior friend, the cloud poured not water, but small flowers, and covered the head of Krishna to protect him from the scorching sunshine.
Pause right there, Santi, because we had some really nice philosophical things in there. Does anyone have a question or comment about anything we just read?
Where do you find such a description of God? I never found it anywhere else.
I also have I have not seen quite the description of God as Srila Prabhupada has laid out here for us. One thing I really liked is it said, when the people are burning due to excessive heat, the cloud satisfies them with rain. Similarly, when people in materialistic life become disturbed by the blazing fire of material pangs or material desires, Krishna gives them relief. The cloud and Krishna, having the same bodily color, also are considered to be friends. And I guess that kind of goes away from the main part I was trying to articulate there, but that's very nice to know, especially, we have so many desires in this world, and just once you get one thing, you just want more and more and more, and it never ends. But it's saying that Krishna, and also understand that this does to mean God, Krishna gives them relief. So that for me is very a very, nice thing to hear, that, oh, there's relief to my desires. I can get what I desire, or be relieved of my desires. Meaning I'll be my desires will be satisfied with Krishna. And that's something I actually learned in through experience with this Krishna consciousness, that really Krishna did give me everything I really desired, the important things anyway, and actually, in a sense, let me let go of a lot of the things that I was desiring, realizing like, wow, that would have been terrible if I got that desire. So that's those are some things I've learned. But is there any questions or comments from anyone?
I just love that when he plays the flute, that everything is stunned by its beauty. The water stops, and I'm really attracted to that sense of ecstasy, of just, needing to just stop and be part of that, and to listen.
Wow, that is a beautiful realization. Yeah, that is something I wish I could hear. I've heard of actually people who have developed a really sincere japa meditation chanting practice, that I've heard of devotees being able to hear Krishna's flute in there. But that's a little esoteric. But Colorado, Mother Nidra, have any nice realizations there, or before we keep going?
The one thing is a lot of people are interested in meditation these days. So this is a way to meditate, hearing about the Supreme Lord's characteristics, qualities, beauty, form, paraphernalia, associates, and to be able to meditate on that, which is the supreme reality, rather than, meditating on maybe something like a candle or something. So to have this divine meditation and the consciousness to be attracted to it and to be purified by it, and for the living entity to be able to remember it at the time of death, is the whole purpose of the human form of life. So it's right here in the Krishna book.
Beautiful. So you're telling me we're doing a profound form of meditation right now, just by reading about Krishna's pastimes and talking about them.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's way better than staring at a candle.
Yeah.
I've done that meditation before.
Way better than staring at a candle.
That was early on.
Yeah, it's popular. Beautiful. So let's continue our meditation here. Santi, would you continue for as long as you'd like?
We're at right at the top, right?
I think one of the gopis, yeah.
One of the gopis told Mother Yashoda, "My dear mother, your son is very expert among the cowherd boys. He knows all the different arts, how to tend the cows and how to play the flute. He composes his own songs and sings to them. He puts his flute to his mouth. When he plays, either in the morning or in the evening, all the demigods, like Lord Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, bow their heads and listen with great attention. Although they are very learned and expert, they cannot understand the musical arrangements of Krishna's flute. They simply listen attentively and try to understand, but become bewildered and nothing more." Another gopi said, "My dear friend, when Krishna returns home with his cows, the footprint of the soles of his feet with flag, thunderbolt, trident, and lotus flower relieves the pain the earth feels when the cows traverse it. He walks in a stride which is so attractive, and he carries his flute. Just by looking at him, we become lusty to enjoy his company. At that time, our movements cease. We become just like trees and stand perfectly still. We even forget what we look like." Krishna had many thousands of cows, and they were divided into groups according to their colors. They were also differently named according to color. When he would return from the pasturing ground, he would find all the cows gathered. As
Vaishnavas.
Vaishnavas, thank you, count 108 beads, which represent the 108 individual gopis. So Krishna would also chant 108 different groups of cows. When Krishna returns, he is garlanded with tulsi leaves. A gopi describes him to a friend. He puts his hand on the shoulder of a cowherd boyfriend and begins to blow his transcendental flute. The wives of the black deer become enchanted upon hearing the vibration of his flute, which resembles the vibration of the Veena. The deer come to Krishna and become so charmed that they stand still, forgetting their homes and husbands. Like us, who are enchanted by the ocean of the transcendental qualities of Krishna, the she deer become enchanted by the vibration of his flute.
One more, Santi.
Another gopi told Mother Yashoda, "My dear mother, when our friend returns home, he decorates himself with the buds of the kunda flower, and just to enlighten and gladden his friends, he blows his flute. The breeze blowing from the south pleases the atmosphere because it is fragrant and very cool. Demigods like the
Gandharvas.
Gandharvas and the Siddhas take advantage of this atmosphere and offer prayers to Krishna by sounding their bugles and drums. Krishna is very kind to the inhabitants of
Vrajabhumi
Vrajabhumi
and Vrindavan.
Vrindavan, thank you. And when he returns with his cows and friends, he is remembered as the lifter of Govardhan hill. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the most exalted demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva come down to offer their evening prayers, and they accompany the cowherd boys in glorifying the qualities of Krishna.
Jai.
Beautiful, Santi. Thank you. I know it's tough. You come into a lot of these Sanskrit words, or it's a lot. Cool. So we keep seeing, and actually, interesting thing enough, everyone thinks the airplane was invented maybe like 100 years ago in the Americas, but these ancient scriptures have been talking about airplanes, or they're called vimanas. If for those of you who have seen it on Ancient Aliens, I know Margaret and her husband will gather on that a little bit, but they've been talking about these ancient airplanes for many, many thousands of years. And they said the demigods ride these, and we often see as Krishna is wandering around in the forest of Vrindavan, which is one of the holy lands in India, due to Krishna being there. You see that they're constantly, everywhere he goes, everything he's doing, everything just is completely captivated. Why? Because he's the source of everything. He is the ultimate being. So this is just very wonderful to hear about.
I think it's just like a comment. It's interesting when you see like really great souls, like even like swamis and gurus and things. Like I feel like there's a similar, like I remember being in Mayapur, and Radhanath Swami was walking by, and I just saw everyone like stop, and they were just staring, and automatically you feel like you should also stop and stare and like find out what everyone's looking at. And you see people giving their pranams and obeisances and respects and things. And Radhanath Swami is clearly like a wonderful, great devotee. But then, I couldn't even imagine what would be going on if Krishna was walking by, like maybe the trees would fall over. And like, I don't know, so it's cool to make that connection of like great souls and also like Krishna.
I think I'd faint.
You might. I might.
Mother Nidra, you probably have some, or anyone in Colorado, you probably have something nice to say.
Yeah, it's nice to hear again about Govardhan Hill. So when Krishna has his pastimes, he goes to Govardhan, and he has many wonderful pastimes with his devotees and the gopis and the cowherd boys underneath the hill. And so when we're reading about this, we can appreciate that Krishna was fulfilling the desires of all the devotees to be together with him in Vrindavan underneath the hill. And even though devotees in Vrindavan would have their times of separation, then underneath the hill, when Indra inundated Vrindavan with the rain, then they were all able to fulfill their desires with Krishna and all be with him underneath the hill. So I was just thinking it's nice to read about Govardhan again, and how Krishna is remembered as the lifter of the Govardhan hill.
Yeah, that was a nice pastime that we did earlier, and a lot has been read where we are now. So like Santi, you're new, just joining with us today on this reading. But everyone else we're recording for right now, also, it would be really nice to go back and read this book. And if anything, this could be like a really nice little testimonial to how wonderful this book is. And actually it was the first book that captivated me within this bhakti yoga system. Just hearing about Krishna was so fascinating to me. I was very simple. I had no taste for philosophy and things like that. I just wanted to hear about who Krishna was, what he did. And the more I learned about Krishna, then the more I kind of just like fell in love with this idea of like who, I've never heard of God talked about like this. It's very, there's never been a description of God that I've seen in any other. And I studied a lot of different things, whether it was Jewish mysticism or, Christianity, my roots, even like ancient Egyptian kind of descriptions of God. But this was something I had never seen. It was so intimate, and it was odd to me as well. But I just something about it, I liked it so much. But let's continue that. And I have a desire. Oh, wow, we're right at the end here. We have 2 paragraphs. I think Sati, could you do the last 2 paragraphs for us?
Yeah. Krishna is compared to the moon born from the ocean of the womb of Devaki. When he returns in the evening, it appears that he is fatigued, but he still tries to gladden the inhabitants of Vrindavan by his auspicious presence. When Krishna returns garlanded with flowers, his face looks beautiful, adorned with golden earrings. He walks into Vrindavan with stride just like the elephants and slowly enters his home. Upon his return, the men, women, and cows of Vrindavan immediately forget the scorching heat of the day. Such descriptions of Krishna's transcendental pastimes and activities were remembered by the gopis during his presence from Vrindavan. They give us some idea of how attractive Krishna is, not only to human beings, but to all animate and inanimate objects. In Vrindavan, everyone and everything is attracted to Krishna, including the trees, the plants, the water, and the animals, like the deer and cows. That is a perfect description of Krishna's all-attractiveness. The example of the gopis is very instructive to persons who are trying to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. One can very easily associate with Krishna simply by remembering his transcendental pastimes. Everyone has a tendency to love someone. That Krishna should be the object of love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. By constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, remembering the transcendental pastime of Krishna, one can be fully in Krishna consciousness, and thus make his life sublime and fruitful. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 35th chapter of Krishna, the Gopis' feelings of separation.
Jai?
Jai.
Jai.
Beautiful. All right. So we have 10 minutes. Do you want to sneak peek into the next chapter?
Yeah.
Or you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, but I have one part that I was surprised at back. It was they called the cowherd boys the demigods, and I had never heard them described that way. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the origin of all Vishnu forms, and the cowherd boys are all demigods. So just as Lord Vishnu is always worshipped and surrounded by different demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Chanda, and others, when Krishna traveled through the Vrindavan forest or walked on Govardhan Hill, he was accompanied by the cowherd boys.
Where are you towards the end of what we read, Margaret?
No, it was several paragraphs back.
No, I think we're almost
We're
there.
looking for it.
I did remember seeing that.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I thought, I should have said something back when we were talking then.
It's okay.
Um,
Right,
Okay.
right there.
Yeah, I hadn't heard them described as demigods
Go ahead.
before.
Highlight it.
and the cowherd boys are all demigods. Yeah. Well, to be fair, what a demigod is, we might think that a demigod is like this majestic being off of Mount Olympus, and it can be that. But Deva, there's two classes of beings called Devas and Asuras. And Devas are those who are servants of the Supreme, who follow the religious injunctions, or servants of the Supreme Lord. And the Asuras are those who are inimical, or don't care to follow any of the Supreme Lord's instructions or rules, only mostly worried about their own selfish desires. So, really, the cowherd boys would be, these intimate associates of Krishna would be like the highest levels of being demigods. But maybe Mother Nidra, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, Krishna's devotees come from different groups, just like we talked previously about the gopis coming from different groups. So some of them have come from demigod life. Some of them have come like jivas who are practicing sadhana bhakti. Like some of our ISKCON devotees may be leaving this world and becoming cowherd boys. And then there's some who are like Nityasiddha, eternally liberated, always are cowherd boys, never haven't been, always will be. So different, the boys coming from different situations.
Beautiful. That was a good point there, Margaret. Good question. We have 5 minutes, so maybe instead of starting a new one, maybe we can kind of recap a little bit. Santi, you're new. You have to have, and you probably have some wonderful questions that would be relatable to anyone else who's going to be newly learning about this, whoever watches this that we're sharing. You got to have something.
Yeah, I just have to find the place on here. Can you go up a little bit?
Sure.
Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. Can you go back down? There was something up front, but there is something on all the way on the bottom. Let me just move the camera thing. It was right at the last two lines really got to me, that it says that Krishna should be the object of love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. By constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and remembering the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, one can be fully in Krishna consciousness and thus make his life sublime and fruitful. That really impacted me when we were going through that. And I know, like, just from coming on Fridays that I've heard this from both you and Ali, but then also just seeing it here just made me think about how, constantly in prayer, right? And constantly cleaning essentially of like those lower thoughts or whatever it is that we feel perhaps like tainted with or distorting our perception of things. But by just constantly chanting, and it's very much the way that I read it here, which was comforting, it seems very much by law almost, like if you do this, this is going to lead to this. It didn't seem like, well, there's a chance you might feel better. It's not 100% guaranteed. It's very much like with confidence said that by doing this, yes, your life will be, his life will be, sublime and fruitful. So to me, when it's very much like by law in that way, that brings a lot of comfort, because there is no room for lower thoughts coming in like, well, what if this doesn't work, or what if it doesn't work entirely and you're still stuck? It's like, no, just have faith and have trust and just do this, keep doing this. And it's by law. That's the way that I read it.
I find that it feels like that it's safe, that you're safe. You know, if you're chanting, you're safe. It's not going to it's going to protect you. It's going to bring you closer to Krishna.
Mm.
Beautiful. Yeah,
they're
beautiful,
really nice
beautiful
insights.
real insights and realizations. And I'm like honored to have partly been with you guys during this journey. So that's awesome.
You brought us to this journey.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Remember that.
But actually kind of what Santi was saying, with the,
Like
you
by
know,
law.
well, she was saying a lot of nice things, but one thing that stuck out to me, you know, by like constantly chanting, it gets rid of these lower things in the mind. And actually the word mantra right here, it means actually to free the mind, to liberate the mind. And, you know, and that's one thing that's nice. Like, oh, my mind is clean. Oh, what did you do?
I just wanted to click on it. Keep going.
You know, so this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, not only is the mind free, but it is, you're good to go to the next one. It is the, on the highest object, which is God. And actually the most attractive form of God, which is Krishna. So, it's just such a wonderful process. And I actually had a really interesting week. You know, a friend of mine had passed away due to actually like an overdose of a substance. And I won't go too much further on that, but it reminded me, we met because we were both in alcohol and drug abuse program. But one of my advantages at that point in my life is that I was starting this Krishna consciousness program, and you know, maybe a disadvantage in his life that he didn't really have that opportunity, despite my not so good efforts. I did try to share in some ways, but it just never took. But you know, and hearing about how he passed, you know, really kind of struck me really hard, because it made me realize, like, I could, at one point in my life, I was down a similar path, and that could have been me had I not had the relief of a higher teaching, a higher process. So, you know, and now I'm, you know, looking at where my life has come to, and it's not perfect by any means, but I've seen since I've started this process how much my life has become sublime and fruitful in many ways. And like I said, it's a long ask Ali how far from perfect it is. But but it's really a you know, I can imagine where I was before I found Krishna and this Krishna consciousness in my life. You know, I was going down a way where I didn't really know what happiness could look like. I didn't really know what you know, what spiritual life was. I kind of thought I was this body, and that, you know, once the body dies, that's it. And that was kind of very it's a miserable way to look at life, you know, think that this is it, you know, just these petty material pleasures in life, and that's all you got. Oh, Mary, welcome. Thanks for joining us in the last bit. But yeah, so that was one of the tough things I learned this week, just due to some circumstances. But
Those devotees in Super Soul Farm,
Yeah.
Raghunath and Kostuba, don't they have a 12-step bhakti program for getting off, you know, and I guess any kind of addiction?
Yeah.
they do. I actually,
On
oh, go ahead.
Patreon.
Mm-hmm. So anybody who was interested, they could join a program like that, or they could join with you and chanting and get the relief.
So
Yeah.
is that a 12-step programs that are based on, you know, AA, where your higher power, of course, would be Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can send you the link, Margaret.
I'd like that.
Yeah, I was just looking at it today actually because we're on Patreon, and they have it as like one of the
Yeah.
options. They're called 12-step programs. Or
Yeah, I
12-step
Yeah.
actually
There's
met them.
Al-Anon, AA, Narcotics Anonymous. I mean, a lot of programs are based on those 12 steps.
Yeah, so it's a 12-step program and it's run by a devotee who went through a 12-step program and then found Bhakti, and is now a devotee and things. And I believe she runs it along
Yeah,
with other people.
her name is Jiva. She's
Oh, you know her, right?
yeah, I actually went to her wedding, which is nice, earlier this last January. But yeah, she's you know, I know actually, Margaret, I forgot you are active in those communities.
In a 12-step program, yes.
Right. So we would love to connect you. I'd love, we and Ali are going to do some research and we're going to connect you. And if you guys know anyone else who could use that, or if anyone else listening, if you feel like you need, you know someone who's struggling in that way, especially after what I heard yesterday, that is more dear to my heart now than it ever has been. You know, we'd love to connect you to the people we know who are doing some really wonderful work, helping people move past a lot of these things.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh,
No, I am.
yeah, thank you.
But learning about Krishna has given me another a hopefulness that you know, those who leave, they're not gone. Their bodies are gone, but their soul gets to try again. And what more could you want? Is more chances to, you know, to become the best.
Mm.
Yeah, that is a beautiful realization. And actually, it's interesting. I got a call from, because I had reached out to this person on Facebook who said my friend had passed, and I was shocked to hear it. So I received a call, you know, I just sent a message. I received a call from, I guess, his best friend at the time, and he was telling me how everything happened. And it was pretty graphic and dramatic, and you know, it's something I really you know, struggled to hear. But you know, we ended up talking and got to some philosophical talking, and I actually, that was like almost the exact advice I did get to give him, Margaret. And for whatever reason, Krishna wanted him to hear that day, that like, he's not gone. Like, it's, yeah, he won't be coming back in that body, and that's not going to be a thing anymore. But you know, he's not gone. He keeps moving. He has another shot, you know. And that is one of the most hopeful things, because when you come from like kind of a Judeo-Christian, and I don't think that doesn't hold true in the Judeo-Christian religion. That isn't like,
Yeah, the Bible hints at reincarnation.
Yeah, that isn't the case in the ancient ways it was practiced, but in the modern take on it, it really is just like, well, if you're either you make it to heaven or you're
done. Yeah.
Yeah, burning in
that's
hell for eternity. And that's like, wow, that's brutal, you know. But it is 4:04, so I would like to give hand it over to Colorado for any closing comments before I end the recording.
So tonight, you know, some good hands. They're comfortable. They have long.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So,
He said
I didn't know if anybody else was making comments.
Oh, that's all right. Just a little bit.
So anyway, we've been, you know, we've stepped into the land of Vrindavan through the Krishna book, the eternal spiritual abode.
Mm.
And by chanting the holy names, then we can deepen that experience of being with Radha and Krishna and being in the spiritual world. The holy names will open that up to us more and more. So that's a very encouraging thing, that we have a process that opens up our eternal relationship with Krishna and opens up the whole realm of the spiritual world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Mary, I'm going to ask you to unmute, because I think you had a little background noise, but I was thinking maybe we could all share this this process that Mother Nidra just enlightened us on, of this chanting of the holy names. Maybe we can just all do a Maha Mantra together, and maybe we could end that way. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.